T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All three engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Coach on Fire Radio.
Well, hello, it's Sarah Shakespeare here with Create a Life You Love. Thank you very much for listening in today. I'm always very, very happy to be here. It's a beautiful sunny day here in British Columbia. I am sitting by a window looking outside, and I'm in an extra good mood today because the sun is shining. And you know that I love to live in British Columbia because, you know, it gets really cold in the winter, but once the snow is gone, the sun comes out and it's sunny for many, many months. So that's actually starting this week. We've had wonderful weather. So I'm in a great mood today as I'm doing this because the sun is out. So what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit going into your 52-week plan. Now, throughout the year, you know, I talk about goal setting and different things that we do. And definitely last week, I talked about where everybody had got at April. So, you know, you've gone January to April and you think, okay, what am I going to get done now? What haven't I got done now? So I hope you've been thinking last week about how you're putting things together for the rest of the year. But I would like to talk about, there's a workshop that I do called the 52-week plan, basically. And I go and do a workshop with people and we plan out through the calendar what we're going to achieve week after week. First of all, we go over what the goal would be over that year, a few different goals. Then we see how we're going to go through it and achieve it. And then a year later, I go back into that group, having had contact with them throughout the year, of course, but I go back into that group at week 52 so that we can see what they got done. So what I always think you should think about when you're putting your plan together, what are you already working on? So just because you create new plans and you say, okay, I want to achieve this in the next year, what are you already working on? Always remember not to neglect what you've always started. If you've started something, really, really try and be focused and try and finish it. So what do you already know, what you want to achieve, and how do you wish to learn more to get that achieved? Really surround yourself with people that can help you get there. Think about the layout of how you're going to get there, how much time you can dedicate to it. Okay, so really think about that. Just because you're, bringing new goals in, don't forget the old ones and think, oh, I've got to give up on those because I've got these wonderful new ones. Now, the goals you had set in place, they could actually be a stepping stone to the big one that you're now actually implementing as a new one. Think about what you're trying to achieve. Why do you want to do that plan? Why does that 52 weeks ahead of you have to look a certain way? So again, I go into this so often. Do not compare yourself to anyone else. Think about what you want to get done. Think about how it's going to come together for you and don't make any comparisons. Really, really work on getting things done for yourself. And although we have got our friends and family that we want to fit into that plan, do really, really try and focus on what you'd like to do because you're more likely to stick to it if it's your goal than someone else forcing you into that goal or telling you that you should really do this because, this would be great for you. Think about whether or not you have that passion to move forward with that. So think about prioritizing that. How are you going to prioritize doing something? It might be one big thing that you're trying to go to. It might be a group of things that you're trying to do. So think about how you're going to prioritize it and what's going to stand in your way of getting there. So look very, very closely at your schedule. Look at how the days are put together for you. Look at how the week is put together. What's your most available time for you to put your time into this? It doesn't necessarily have to be a 9 to 5 thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 9 to 3 thing when the children aren't there. Think about what time you've got to fit around creating everything that you're trying to achieve. Also think about getting some research done. Just the knowledge that you need behind you to be able to reach that goal. So really research each thing individually, give it the time and the credit that it deserves so you know exactly how you're going to fit that in. So look at your schedule each week and time block it out. So you think, okay, I'm going to work on this around this time and try not to have anything come in the way of that. I really, really talk about that when you're trying to fit your exercise in actually throughout the week, throughout the month. Really, really use it and have an important appointment in your schedule where you would a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment. Really, really anything that's important to you that's going to better yourself, use it as an important I don't know, an important appointment in your book. Don't let it just, slip to the side. So how are you going to fit everything in? Really, really take a close look. Now, a lot of people say, well, the budget, how am I going to fit these wonderful goals in over the year? I haven't got the budget to do that. Well, not everything that you do is going to cost money. Just have a look at how you want to fit things in. Maybe some of the bigger goals that you need to get to, maybe they do take more money. But do give yourself the time and have some patience to get there. Doesn't mean they make the list, but try and do things that fit in with your lifestyle right now. Now, one thing I do think about when you're trying to put your list together and you look at the big picture of your life, in the background, you need to think about your 2-year plan, 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. So right in the background of that, think to yourself, okay, this is what I can get achieved in a year. What's after that? What's after that? And what's after that again? So again, I'm really, really big on showing patience and achieving things, but think what's beyond that and think how you're going to put everything together and categorize what's important and mark out your weeks. So in my workshops, I give people a calendar of the 12 months, of course, and it's broken down on each space down into the 4 weeks, and we go through the 52 weeks. Because when you say I'm going to get things achieved in a year, sometimes that seems like a long time. If you're an impatient person, you say, oh, that's just too far away. But if you've got it broken down into 52 weeks and you can see how you're going to achieve that, it's much easier to think that it's possible. Especially if you have a holiday, for instance, coming up in August and you think, oh, I haven't got anything done in August. You already know for 3 weeks in August, you're not available to do that. You're doing your family time. You've got your summer plans. So when you look at your year ahead, you can really, really start to think about when the best times are going to be for you to fit those things. Now, when you think of your big picture, do think about how everything is going to fit around that. So it's really, really important that, you have to have big picture planning. Don't just say, okay, I'm going to look at my 4 weeks ahead. Really look beyond those 52 weeks, but plan ahead. It's so, so important. Now, one thing that I think is really, really important, and if you follow me on Facebook and Instagram, you know that I talk so much about looking after yourself, your physical health, your mental health. Really think about self-care as you're putting your goals together. Because if you're not looking after yourself, you're not going to be able to motivate yourself to do anything. If you're weak and you're tired, and one of the keynote speeches that I do is actually called Full of Yourself. And I talk about that other side of when people say, oh, she's so full of herself. That can seem like overconfident, maybe a bit arrogant or too much. But I look at the phrase full of yourself as having enough in you so that you're able to give to others. So I really want you to think as you're doing your 52-week plan, to me, it's so important that you fit in your self-care, whatever that means to you. Now, for me, my personal self-care is my exercise is so important each day. I eat very well each day, so I need to make sure that my nutrition is on. Sleep, I could have more sleep. I think people that know me well know I could absolutely have more sleep because I do try and get a lot of things fit into my days. But definitely try and get the rest that you need and your body needs. Another thing for self-care is that I love to meet my friends for tea. I don't actually drink alcohol, so I don't necessarily meet them at the pub or at the bar. I do meet people at coffee shops because I love to drink green tea. So that's part of my self-care. I do like one-on-one contact. I mean, I love social media and everything that surrounds that, but I do love to meet real people and sit and drink tea. I also, from a self-care point of view, is I don't put myself in any stressful situations that are not going to make me feel good at that time or in the future. So I'm very, very proactive in keeping myself out of any stressful situations. That's very, very important to me as far as my self-care. And like lots of my friends and family, I do love the hair salon. I do love to get my nails done and my pedicures. So things like that really, really help me give back in the other areas of my life. When I'm full of myself, I'm really, really able to give to others. So if you haven't listened to my show before, the reason it's called Create a Life You Love is because I really, really want to help people create a life they love on their terms. So every guest that comes onto my show always have to have creating a life that you love in mind. And I've had some most amazing people on my show. I started my show last July, and when I was given the opportunity to do this show and I was asked about the show name, I thought in an instant, it has to be Create a Life You Love, because I wanted different people on the show from all walks of life, doing all different types of careers. I didn't necessarily, given my own background in the fitness industry, I didn't want to have a health and fitness show. I didn't want people to think, okay, we're just going to go on here and hear about nutrition, about training. Now, when I do my own show and I don't have a guest on, and you see me talk about different things for that hour where it's just me, yes, I do talk about goal setting. I talk about the nutrition, the self-care, the ambition. I talk about everything that I teach and what I believe in. But I also wanted to have the opportunity to bring people on where you could sit down with a notebook and say, okay, this is going to be so helpful to me. So when I pick the guests, for me, I guess from a selfish point of view, I always want to make sure that I'm interested and that I could get out pen and paper either during the show, which I try and concentrate on, of course, or the replay where I think, okay, that was so interesting. So anybody that I invite onto the show is always somebody that I really, really am interested in listening to, learning from, and helping me create a life that I love, because I can't do it all on my own. You know, I need help from other people as well. But I just know that today, the guest that I've gotten today, Jason, you're going to find him very interesting. I met him last year in Miami, and you all know that I love to be in Miami. So I'm definitely loving the sun there and being in a good mood. And when I met Jason, I found him very interesting. I thought he had a lot of interesting things to say. So I know today you're going to find him interesting. You're going to take some things away that are going to help you in life, in business. And he is a profit growth strategist, and he will talk to us today about different things that we can put into place to make more profit in business. Now, there's a lot of other things we're going to talk about today, but I think that everybody who's listening today can take something away and go, okay, I'm going to implement that. This is going to help me. So, Jason, I'd like to welcome you to the show.
Hi there, Sarah. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Thank you. It's so hard for me to stop talking when I have to introduce someone onto the show when I've been talking for those 10 minutes about things that I love. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Jason. I think you've got so many interesting things to say. I know that I've, spoken to you previously, and just so much of an interest. I think so helpful and so knowledgeable in what you're going to be talking about. Now, if we were going to meet you for the very first time today, what would we want to know about you, and what's the best thing about you?
What a great question to kick off with.
Good, I love it.
I think that the most important thing that I would like people to know is that my life is really about trying to make the business of making profit as simple as possible. I think for so long, business owners, small business owners, entrepreneurs have spent a lot of time believing that they need to do everything that they possibly can, throw all of the energy in, whatever it is, whatever it takes. And the reality is, it doesn't have to be that hard. It really comes back to some very simple pieces of technique and some very simple concepts, even for the people who would hold their hands up and say, but I'm not a numbers person. It really doesn't matter. I use images in the way that I people that I work with, because I'm very aware that numbers are not everybody's thing. But there is something else that goes with that. And it really comes back to this idea that to be a real CEO in a business, it doesn't mean you have to be the best salesperson, the best marketeer, the best financial person. But there are some basics in all of those areas that we do need to grasp. And I think that really my mission in life now is to try and pass on some simple pieces of knowledge. I have a fundamental belief that when we create more profit, it gives us more choices, and that allows us all to create more impact, be that in our personal lives, our business lives, socially, but we get to choose to do so many different things. And there's a ton of great businesses out there, Sarah, and they're just not quite making what they could, or indeed what they should be capable of making for running such a great business at a fundamental level. So that's my passion, bringing profit to small and medium-sized businesses, and really encouraging this idea that it doesn't have to be difficult. I think that people shy away from the finance piece a little bit too easily at times, but I'm trying to encourage people into the fold. Let's bring the topic of profit into the open. Even the non-profits have to start there by creating some profit in the first place. So it's a big subject. The business of business is fundamentally interesting as well. And from a business perspective, that's me. From a personal perspective, I get to run my life in the same way as many online entrepreneurs.